Or else, Richland County Board for February. This is actually the second meeting of the board this month. We had one earlier. We'll be approving those minutes. February 12th meeting as we go through our agenda. Mr. Kalish is nursing a bad one, a cold. Nursing a cold. And fit right in when we move up here. So Ms. Hagee is filling in admirably for Derek. Would you take the roll, please, Ms. Hagee?
Harrow.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
She's on.
Here.
Here.
Seat.
Here, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
McKee.
Here.
Renish.
Here.
Luck. Manning.
Here.
Gotchel. Glassburner. 11 is vacant. Gentis.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove.
Here.
Frank. Severson.
Present.
Williamson. Gooey. Fleming. Boyce.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
You have 15, sir, for a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please lead us into pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So St. Sandy, Pastor Michelle, St. John's Lutheran is here to lead us in an invocation.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we open our hearts to you, to open our minds, to give first and foremost thanks for all the blessings that you give to us. Help us to see those blessings. We thank you for all those who serve this county and this community, and we ask for blessings upon this meeting and wisdom to prevail. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. We have a published agenda here of 25 points. I am scratching the number 22 of the closed session. That's deleted. No closed session. So that takes us down to an agenda of 24 points. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renish, seconded by Ms. Fleming. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. The minutes of the February 12th meeting. I'm going to, any changes or things you don't agree with in those minutes? I know there would be.
I move for approval.
Thank you, sir. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second with Mr. McKee. Motion by C. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Public comment. Public comment. See. Fourth. Move down to number 7, appointments, CCS Coordinating Committee and Transportation Coordinating Committee. Are you handling it? Ms. Fish?
So these are routine appointments, and so you'll see there in your packet, the CCS Coordination Committee is responsible for reviewing the Quality Improvement Plan and the Comprehensive Community Services Plan for Richland County CCS programming. This was approved by the HHS committee and is in front of you for approval.
No. Take a motion then.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Rennie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, and the next item then is an appointment for the Transportation Coordinating Committee. Cole Pyfron is no longer on the committee, and so they are asking to appoint Jeremy Walsh. And so that will replace the existing, and they will be able to continue functioning appropriately. So I ask for that approval.
I have a motion, Mr. Manning, seconded by McKee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Have an appointment. All right, number 8, administrators report. Administrators report, neighborhood housing, presentation, register of deeds, and the report. And with us tonight is
Candy Liz?
and I know you. Sorry. Take it away.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy Linz, and I'm the Executive Director for Neighborhood Housing Services of Southwest Wisconsin. Just so I have a quick show of hands, how many of you are familiar at least somewhat with us? And if you don't raise your hand, you're in trouble. Okay, so give me some of a sense of who's all here. Do you have the PowerPoint?
It's in the packet.
I'll keep talking in the meantime. I am pleased to say that I have joined NHS Southwest Wisconsin in March of 2022. So I've had a chance to start to get more familiar with all the work that we have going on. And with this particular case, I want to share with you just a couple of things along the slides. We are now starting year 41, just getting started. So back in 1983, we actually got started with the Park Hotel Apartments, which is just across the street. In case you were like, who are those people? Who's over there? I want to point out that we are an affiliate of NeighborWorks America, which is a national housing organization, and we were their very first rural affiliate in the country. I mention that now because at the time that they started with us, they weren't even sure it would work because everything they had done had been urban. And they're like, do you think we have reach? No. Okay, go for it. Now half of the affiliates are rural affiliates working across the country to say, what can we do to help make sure that there is good housing available for people across all of our communities? That we make that available for everybody. I'm going to have you go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll move forward. Back in 1983, the very first project was out here. That's really probably the location that everyone knows us for, is the Park Hotel. It is now the home to 23 apartments and multiple seniors, and making sure that we have it available for people who are over 55 who need that financial assistance. They've had that for 40 years of making sure that they continually have housing for seniors in this particular area. I don't know about you, but it's become very clear to me that we have a great need for more housing in this particular area. So it's one of the areas that I hope at some point we can continue to talk and say, what can we do? Because I would have to say overall, from what I've observed, there's a need for housing in every category, but particularly for our seniors. I'm going to go ahead and let you move forward. I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention Terry Tuslin, who was the director for a really long time for the organization. During the time that he worked here, it's fun to talk to the people from NeighborWorks because they said every time we tried something new, Terry said, we're going to do it too. They told me you guys have a long history of innovation and being some of the first people to try this out and say, how do we make sure this works? They went green before it was really cool to be green. They got a number of awards for working with the Ho-Chunk Nation for what they could be doing for housing. I'm going to go forward to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about some of the different programs that they started and when, and some of the ones that we're still actively involved in. Back in 2003 is when we started the Home Ownership Center. We took a look at the communities around here and said, you know, there's a lot of folks who are trying to become new homeowners. They're not entirely sure how to go about that. And so we actually went through the process of making sure that we can provide the counseling, the education that's needed so that we can make sure they're ready. And by working with the state of Wisconsin, we still to this day are able to make down payment assistance available for families as they go through the work that they getting a home. Go ahead and go to the next slide. You'll see a number of the different types of education that we provide. In a little bit, I'm going to talk more about rehab, but we also do counseling with people who are going through the rehab process to say, what do you need to maintain this home once we get the upgrades put in? We also work with folks on foreclosure prevention. There are times where we hit, how many people notice with COVID? Jobs weren't always secured at that particular moment, and people hit a bump along the way, and they needed some help to keep going and keep their home in those times. So we also work with folks on counseling and making sure that we can help them stay in their homes and get back on their feet. Whoops, and we lost that slide, but I'll keep going.
I haven't been sharing to the public.
Oh, sorry. Also, under Terry, they worked with new construction, the stick built. And during their 40-year time, they built 53 homes. That's a tremendous number of houses within the area. I particularly like the fact, if we go to the next slide, you can actually see what one of the houses looked like. They were very careful to look and say, what can we be doing to do like a 3-bedroom home, a garage? What can we make sure that's available for families in this area? I continue to now have new developers coming to me and saying, can we talk about putting in some houses?
May I add something to that? You'll notice that house, it's a unique design, and it's designed to fit on the narrow lot, an infill, and it's beautiful, a beautiful home. I know exactly what it is.
Thank you. I think that's probably the most enjoyable part of my job. There have been folks who've been watching what we've been doing over the years and the stories that I hear from the different families, from the different people who got to participate, to say this has made such a difference in our community. And that's what we want to keep working towards. They haven't done any new construction since 2014. That's one of the things that we take a look at and say, what do we have to do to make sure that we're up to speed and we can get back to that part of the work. Can I have you go ahead? Bill Ranke was the executive director before me. During his time, we did a shift in our Homeland Fire education. In addition to doing in-person training, they went online. I'm sure most of you are going, you had to go online or you can't survive in this world. They did, and when they went online, they made sure it was available in English and Spanish. So making sure that we expanded what we do. Construction switched over to rehab. They actually purchased homes and rehabbed them and sold them again. We'll talk a little bit more about that. In this particular case, we have an example of one because of that commitment that they had. I'm going to have you go to the next picture. This is actually the last house that they actually flipped. And when they made sure that they put it back out for sale, I hope you noticed that it was only available to be bought by qualified low-income households. You had to be under 80% median income. Again, we had dollars that were available, and this is the inside to give you kind of a sense of the home. We were working closely with the state of Wisconsin for their HHR funds so that we can, in fact, make improvements as we go through. One of the things that's become very clear is that we have some of the oldest housing stock in the state. That means that there's a lot of fixing up to do. We've got a lot of lead paint issues. We have a lot of accessibility issues. We have a number of health issues with mold and with other ventilation type issues. And so it really behooves us to say, what can we do to make improvements to the houses that we have? In addition to this, I'm just going to stay on this slide for just a second. The other thing that we've been doing most recently has been doing a lot of rehab with single family homes. In this particular case, there's local families who contact us to say, I need help. I know that my house has issues. I know. And inevitably people will come and say, I need a new water heater. I need a new roof. I need a ramp. Except it's never just the roof or the water heater or the ramp. And the tricky part is because we're working with the state of Wisconsin, they tell us you need to send a home inspector out and you need to take a careful look to say, what other things do they need to fix that'll actually raise the quality of the housing stock? What do they need for accessibility? What do they need because of health issues, including lead? What do they need? Linda Vickers to clean. So that's part of the work that we do is to say, we want to talk to you about that. And as part of what we do with the state of Wisconsin, if they take a loan with us, they will get a 0% deferred loan. That means there's never any interest charged, and it won't come due for payment until the house is no longer their primary residence or they sell it. So that's a real opportunity for a lot of folks to get their homes fixed that wouldn't have normally gotten that chance. Since July of 2023, we have been able to spend down with folks in the Richland County and just on the border of Grant County, $350,000 doing rehabs in homes. Right now, as with the state, they've said, can you guys take more? We're in negotiations to take another $200,000 to use before the end of December. We've already got people in the queue who are ready to use those funds. We know that come March, it will be time for us to resubmit for that funding again so that we can kick off in July. We feel like we have a good spot right now with our funder to make that happen. So we're continuing to try to bring money to the local areas that need to do things here in the local county. Next slide. Just a little bit about me. I started in 2022. Since my time here, we have worked with WIDA so that we could get a capacity building grant. They specifically said, we want you to work with helping communities of color become homeowners. And so we're specifically targeting this, particularly the Spanish-speaking community, along with other members of other communities in this area, because we know when we looked at the statistics, their poverty rates were higher than anybody else in the county. That was the moment we had to stop and say, okay, we need to really take a careful look here and say, what do we do to help people have good housing as we go forward? As a continuing part of that effort, we just were awarded by the Federal Reserve a new project called Reinventing Our Communities. We are one of 11 states in the country working to address racial equity in rental properties. We were been selected for Southwest Wisconsin. We are working, co-leading a coalition with Southwest CAP and bringing together a number of people from across the Southwest area to say, let's take a closer look and see what we can do to help this work. Part of my work, I have a background in fundraising, so I like grant writing. I like that part of it. So people have said, hey, can we talk to you? We need to work more. Well, I'm happy to do that. Part of what we've also tried to do is to work with NeighborWorks America as well as other funding sources to say what other trainings, what other opportunities can we bring in. Right now with NeighborWorks America, before September, we're scheduled to bring in national consultants to work on shared equity training. How many of you ever heard of land trusts? Taking a look at, they're going to be talking to us more about how do we set up those kind of cooperatives, those land trusts, so that in fact, when we put the federal and state dollars into making homes more affordable, we also don't lose the land that goes with it. We maintain that and maintain the eligibility for affordability. So that'll be some of the training that'll be coming up, working with those folks. We are working with another national consultant from Richland County, Juneau County, and Sauk County, talking about health equity and a partnership. How do we help work with the different health centers and help bring in funding specifically to help with some of the health issues that we're dealing with? Again, already awarded, now working through that process for additional. The other thing that we're doing is working with the Housing Assistance Council, which is another national organization. They have just awarded us to work with national consultants specifically on how do we build our skill sets in the construction realm, both when it comes to additional rehab work, living work, as well as new stock, new housing construction as we go through. I'm no idiot. I look at it and say, what skills do we currently have and what do we need to build so that we can go further? And one of the things I've said to the city and county is to say, if I can bring in national consultants who can walk with us on some of the different development steps that we can do, I feel a lot better about knowing that we're not going to misstep along the way. And I will always work to help bring some of those resources to the community. Now, NeighborWorks America is very good about giving us statistics, but I wanted to know, so how have we been doing? They gave us a look back to 2018 to 2022. In that time period, we served 499 homeowners, helped to either create new homeowners or help people keep their homes. When it came to counseling and education, 1,593. That's a lot of folks. And particularly when we looked at the funding piece of that, you can see the numbers that are listed there and the investment that actually came in per dollar for this local community. Previous to July of 2023, we only had manually funding for Richland County. We have expanded that out so that we have funding for Grant County, Iowa County, Greene County, Lafayette County, and Richland County. So we've been trying to really help meet the mission that was laid out for us to live up to what it is that we are called on, but continuing to help all of those different state spots get the funding they need to improve housing. As I was the new kid on the block, I wanted to know, well, what's the 2022 numbers? How does it look? Can you go to the next slide? We're in 2022, helped 884 homeowners either be created or preserved. 217 customers were counseled or educated. Again, our numbers as we were going forward, and $47 for every dollar brought in, still pretty good. Feeling pretty good about that when we have somebody new on the block and have to learn all the special parts of how this all works. And the very last slide that I have for you was something that Terry Tuslick wrote, but I still think it speaks very loudly about what it is that we're about. Helping the Park Apartments be an exceptional place for people to call home. Offer best in region home ownership counseling services. Create community leaders. Set new partnerships. And conduct all of our business in a way that honors our commitment to fiscal responsibility, human empowerment, and environmental stewardship. We're pleased to be neighbors with you all, and I look forward to an opportunity that we can have to work together more closely on what we need for housing.
Thank you.
We'll stop there.
Thank you, Kathy. Good presentation. Any questions for her? Sue Triggs is here, our Register of Deeds. She has her report in our packet, and if she wants to verbalize, she may.
I don't know if any.
Receipts last year were $482,082.90. Parks, $7,411.51. Our budget appropriation was $168,287.88. So you can see we were, probably about 30,000 that we didn't spend that went back to the county. The money that we had to give to the state was $297 or $297,779.32. And then we gave $21,952 to the Land Records Fund, which brought our actual receipts down to $162,351.58. And if you look on the second page, it tells just the different things that we take money in for. And, we took in. I don't know if there was any questions or.
What's a discharge?
Veteran service discharges.
So one thing that I was involved in is that the ability to safeguard titles so they can't be commandeered.
Right, with the new software that we've started at the beginning of this year, there's a property fraud alert that people can sign up with this company for, and it alerts them if something's being used in their name or their property. So.
They have to sign up for it.
Right, they have to sign up for it. It doesn't just automatically notify people.
Did that gentleman from, I don't know where, Viola?
There's one person
Sign
that
up.
came in and took some information on it, but I don't know that he was the person. He didn't give me his name, so I don't know. If he calls, I'll
Everyone
call
who
this
puts
year.
property ought to look into that, so.
Yeah, we've got brochures in our office if anybody's interested.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Sue? Administrator Pesh, do you have a report for us?
I do. So earlier today, Senate Bill 518 passed out of the assembly. from a vote of 95-2, so it is headed to the governor's desk. That is the funding mechanism for two-year campuses. And in the bill itself, it states that Richland County must be paid first. So that's very exciting. Representative Kurtz texted me this afternoon. I've been working pretty closely with him, following along, and he's been keeping me updated, which I've appreciated. So he and Howard Markline did an outstanding job for us as far as really driving that bill home, because in the very beginning it had its challenges and there were a lot of people that doubted it would pass. And so we're pretty excited about that. We are doing a lot of work right now on a lot of different things. So there's a lot of moving parts around the county right now. We are working through formulating a financial and procurement policy. We're doing that in conjunction with the revamping of the board rules and the committee structure. So Andy Phillips is assisting us with all of those things. A reminder, the board rules and committee structure meeting will be on Monday, the 26th at 5 p.m. here in this room. Any comments, again, remember to send them to me so I can get them to Andy for you. I've had a few, but not a whole lot. So if you have something to say, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, please get them to us so I can get them to Andy, so he's prepared to address those in your meeting with him on Monday. The wage study, I had a meeting with Tessa Melvin last week from David Drown Associates. That is, you'll recall who you approved to engage the wage study. And so right now we are in the process of determining our benchmark counties that are similarly situated to us, that will be a good market for us to compare our wages to. I've talked to the department heads and also asked them if you have any other items that need to be looked at, highway road miles, number of patrols that you do in communities, ambulance service. Please get us those communities, because we also need some of those outlier communities to ensure that we're getting the best apples to apples comparison that we can, to ensure that our market analysis is accurate and thorough. So we'll be moving on that soon. Tessa will come in, she will meet with you as a board, and we will bring those communities to you for your approval before the wage study commences. So that will be coming. HR centralization. This committee, this board approved an HR generalist last fall, I guess, and I can tell you already it's paying dividends. Justin Siemens started with us and he is doing outstanding work. He has really expanded the area that we are advertising our jobs. He's working with department heads on job descriptions, recruitment, HR, FMLA issues. I can tell you the volume of our candidates has increased. And I'm excited to say we even have an applicant for the zoning administrator position, an outstanding applicant. So he is working very hard, doing some great work, and I'm really excited about that. We have met with the larger departments to talk about the HR centralization. That's a process we're going to be starting to engage in consistent practices all across the county to make sure that every department looks the same in how we're doing business, and to mitigate our liability overall. So we're working towards that, starting to review the personnel policy and handbooks. So a lot of things going on in that realm. We are continuing to meet with the departments that are in flux. We have a few departments, as you know, that have had some turnover in staff. And so we're evaluating, do we need directors? Do we need, lead workers? What do we need? We have the child support office that's a little in flux. We have our land conservation and zoning that we're looking at combining. We also have our fair and parks that we're transitioning some of those duties and redetermining what our staffing pattern looks like. It's going really well, and I think we'll have a lot of those buttoned up here probably in the next 2 months, which is really exciting to report. So we took our time, we evaluated it accurately, we communicated with those doing the work, and I think we've got some really good ideas going forward on the way we want to look. Let's see, tomorrow I'm meeting with Troy Maggie from Southwest Regional Planning to talk about our comprehensive plan. So the work will be starting on that. So that's exciting. We'll get moving forward on that. They are also We have made the payment and signed the contract for our housing study. You know, we just had a large presentation on housing and what our needs are in this community. We all know they're significant. And so they're engaging in that. So we'll hopefully have something to report by the end of this year on our housing study. I am continuing to try to get out into the community, meet people, speak at different organizations or different township meetings. I spoke at the Ministerial Association along with Derek last week. That was a wonderful discussion. It gave us an opportunity to answer questions from around the community and communicate kind of what's going on at the county, and for me to meet some faces that I'll see around town. On Thursday night, I will be speaking at Southwest Tech at their board meeting. I will be going, they're going to give me a tour of the campus, and then I'm also going to speak with them regarding some training for our county staff. We've talked about leadership training across the board, so I'm going to do a little work on that and figure out kind of where they're at and what they have to offer us. And last but not least, there were a few of us who attended the WCA Legislative Conference 2 weeks ago. It was an outstanding conference. We learned a lot of good networking. I was able to meet with other administrators and county executives and learn about some initiatives that are going on. Last year, the big push was for shared revenue. This year, what they're really looking to focus on for counties is the cost for the court systems. You know, the fact that we have to house and maintain court systems and we wind up paying for most of that. And they're trying to basically gauge how much our county's paying for that. And they're trying to get the state to step up and reimburse counties for those costs. And so there's a working group on that right now. And I will be trying to get involved with that as I can, depending on how everything is going. And I think that's about it for now. That's definitely not all, but that's all I'll say.
Okay, as you brought it up, there are a lot of things out here that you could ask Candace about right now if you want to. You don't have to, you can. Okay. Yes, Dan Fire.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions on the campus. What are you guys, being a group, what are you guys doing at the campus? Now, this is good news, but is this money earmarked for that Richland County can spend as is needed, or is it earmarked for education, or just earmarked for maintenance of this campus?
There's very specific language in the bill, but it's really not constrictive. And I'd have to pull it up. I think I had it up here, but it's really to repurpose. So it can be spent for consultant fees. It can be spent to revamp it. Mike, do you have it up? Okay, let's see. Right now I gotta put on my glasses.
Sorry.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Let's see. Subject to including costs associated with the redevelopment of buildings or other sites owned by the political subdivisions on a branch campus or former branch campus that are or will no longer be used for academic purposes. So that's really it.
Seriously, could be redeveloped, could be used for other purposes? Really?
It's for the redevelopment. Yes, that's the specific purpose of the grant.
That's what I'm talking about.
We can't use it for highways.
No, it has to be for the campus. Yes.
Right. I understand that we have no petitions for zoning amendments or recommended for denial, so.
That's right. I have the report, but there's no reports for you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on then to number 12, resolution commemorating the retirement of Toby Johnson from the sheriff's office. Clay Porter, Sheriff Porter is here, so.
Yeah, I'm sure many of you have heard, but investigator Toby Johnson retired at the end of December. So we just wanted to include this, something we've done in the past for our retirees. So wanted to include this resolution.
Okay, thank you. And do we need to read it? Would you read it, please?
Yes, this would be resolution number 24-7. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors. Pardon me. That the county board hereby expresses its sincere appreciation for the over 16 years of dedicated service of Toby Johnson, and the board wishes him a long and happy retirement. And be it further resolved that the county clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to Mr. Johnson at his home address, which the county clerk has on file. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee on 2 February of 2024.
All right, you've heard the resolution.
Make a motion.
Porter, Renish, seconded by Manning. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Resolution is adopted. Thank you. The resolution, might as well stay right there, Clay. Resolution approving the sheriff's office purchase of 2 new vehicles and the purchase and installation of appropriate equipment for those vehicles. And we have a resolution, so you can read it.
This would be resolution number 24-8. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the sheriff's office to spend no more than $160,000 for the purchase of 2 new squad vehicles and the appropriate equipment and installation for those vehicles. Be it further resolved that the sheriff is authorized to spend no more than $160,000 to make these purchases. Be it further resolved that authority is hereby granted for the Public Safety Standing Committee and the sheriff to sell 2 squad cars in a manner deemed appropriate by the committee, and for the net sale proceeds to be deposited into the general fund of the county budget. And be it further resolved that these purchases shall be paid from the 2024 short-term borrowing fund, Fund 92. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 13th February of 2024.
Heard the resolution, Manning,
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption.
take a second from Don. Any questions? A whole bunch of this. Cars have cost a lot more than when I chaired the.
Yeah, the cars and the equipment have just
They
really skyrocketed.
Getting cars for 35,000, I believe, back then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Mr. McKee.
Yes, we'll be retiring cars.
So is
What was that?
the equipment be transferred?
No, the cars that we'll be getting rid of they don't have much equipment that would transfer. So I shouldn't say no. Most of it will not be transferred though. Yep.
Okay. Sawed-up shotgun can be transferred. Yeah.
So you will auction off the old cars in Wisconsin surplus?
Tell
me
the
two are going.
We will either auction them off or they will be repurposed for other departments. So we've been offering them up for other departments of the county first. If there's no takers, they'll go to auction.
Thank you, Clay.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Bought some cars. And they came in ahead of schedule.
One of them is already here. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I remember when we waited for 2 years to get one from Australia. So, all right. Resolution approving purchase of MacTech high ground capture 911 call recorder. That's a resolution, so please read it.
This would be resolution number 24-9, and therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the purchase of MacTech higher ground capture 911 call recorder for the cost of $31,355. And be it further resolved that funds to carry out this resolution are the 2023 PSAP NG 911 grant. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. The resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee on 20 February of 2024.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Motion by Rich, second by McKee. Approval. Lady, you want to give a little background on this?
Yeah, and Barb can chime in if she needs. So we are upgrading our 911 system. Part of that upgrade, we need to upgrade our recording system. Otherwise, we kind of put ourselves at a liability. With our current system, it will not record the new system's 911 calls. So our new recording system won't record the new 911 system's calls. So we need to upgrade software for the 911 system or the recording system, so we can basically not have a gap in recordings there. We included this in part of our grant application for the PSAP grant. So it's covered, it's a 20% matching grant. So we're only responsible for 20% of the 31,000 that's detailed here.
Which was budgeted.
Yep.
Okay. Heard the resolution, you've heard the explanation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution honoring longtime public servant for 100th birthday. Please read.
This would be resolution number 24-10. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county board hereby expresses its honor and celebration of Mr. Bernie Cooley in light of his 100th birthday. And be it further resolved that the county clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to Mr. Cooley at his residence. This resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee on 2 February of 2024.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Key, Manning. McKee moves, Manning seconds. All right, Bernie Cooley, long time. Well, I think he was an EMT for 99 out of 100 years. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, resolution is adopted. Okay, a resolution authorizing the Richland County Ambulance Service to apply for and accept a grant of federal funds.
This would be resolution number 24-11. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the ambulance service to apply for and accept a grant of federal funds from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in which is a grant that if awarded would fund 95% of the approved project with a 5% match. And be it further resolved that the 3 EMS agencies participating in this grant project will cover their respective grant match amount. And be it further resolved that the director of the ambulance service or interim is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county such documents as are necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant. Be it further resolved that this resolution should be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on February 13th, February of
You've
2024.
heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Williamson, seconded by Cosgrove. Ambulance people are here. Amber's on. Amber Birch is on.
Yep, so we applied for the AFG grant for radio funds last year also, and it's a very highly competitive grant. We didn't find out until December actually that we didn't receive funds, which means that we were in the running for it. They just ran out of money before they could fund our project. So this year we are writing the grant for 3 of the departments in the county, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to be competitive and receive those funds a little bit earlier. The money would be going toward the radio upgrades so that we'd be able to be in compatibility with the new radio project, the towers and such. So I apologize, I forgot to bring my numbers home with me. I had them ready, but it's our cost for the ambulance service. We would be paying less than $3,000, I believe it was, for a high quality number of radios for service members and for the ambulances and ambulance vehicles.
Thank you, Amber. This is one of those deals that make us better. Any questions? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Have a resolution adopted. Thank you. Brings us to number 17, a resolution establishing the salary for the county clerk, county treasurer, and register of deeds for the 2025 to 2028 term. Please.
This would be resolution number 24-12. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the following salaries are established for the county clerk, county treasurer, and register of deeds for the 2025 to 2028 terms as follows. So they're listed below items 1 through 4. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 13 February of 2024.
Can you get that one up for us, Barb? Or whoever's doing that. Okay, there it is. All right. Now, I know Derek's on the line, can help us out. I think Mr. Even is here. First. There he is. Did a lot of research, a lot of asking other counties. We tried to stay, I know, in our size county, similar counties. Didn't go to Dane County and say, what are you paying this year? Go to Sauk County, I know it. So they're paying this year. So there are the figures. Every 4 years, we do this, and it has to be done prior to the election in which these figures begin being paid. So prior to April, it has to be done. And you see the figures there, Derek? Can you speak to this?
Sure. So if you go to the next slide, Barb, the summary that I have prepared there, or it's the next item in your guys' packet. What you're going to see, thank you, Barb, is you will see, there you go, that's good. So the proposed salary graph that's on the top is the same thing that's in the resolution. What it does is it lists the base salary of 2024, which right now is the $67,082.95, which is what the current Register of Deeds and the current county treasurer are receiving. And then I have listed there the wage increase with the percentages and then the end of term proposed salary. So you'll see the salary ranges there from 2025 to 2028. Marty, you were right on in that when we were looking at comparisons, we were really trying to compare counties that are of similar comparison points. For me, it's population. For the county treasurer, that may be, parcels, what have you. And when we're getting these numbers, all of us, all the county clerks, treasurers, and register of deeds, we were all in the process of getting these totals together because, as Marty noted, they had to be sent out before, or these wages have to be set before nomination papers go out for these offices on April 15th. So the point I just want to make you focus in on or give attention to is underneath that chart where it says salary proposal consideration. So these are just some of the things that collectively us three and with Administrator Pesh took into account when determining what that salary should look like for the coming years. So starting at the very top, the county clerk salary, as we know it, is reduced from the current $83,326 to $67,882.95. So you'll recall that additional $15,443 was reduced from the county clerk salary per resolution 21-57, with which the powers that be then adopted on April 20th of 2021. And that accounted for the additional salary that was given to the county clerk as the administrative coordinator. However, as you all know, we switched forms of government, so that salary will leave the county clerk And then the county clerk, per that resolution, will then make the same, and all the wages for the county clerk, county treasurer, and register of deeds will all be the same. And for that's the same for lots of counties in the state. The register of deeds and the county treasurer are very similar. There are minor variations, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, but it's not uncommon for all of them to be relatively the same or a little bit lower or higher than one another. But nonetheless, there's typically not a huge difference unless you have something like an administrator coordinator feature, which we will no longer have. So going forward, those duties then, for instance, for me, it was those finance officer duties that stayed with me till the end of this term per that MOU that I signed with the then administrator Clinton or Langrick. Those go away. So the register of deeds staff will also work 40 hours a week. Currently, that office is at 35 hours a week. That office will go to 40 hours a week. The county clerk and county treasurer's office, we went to 40 hours a week, I believe, in 2019. The third bullet point down from there is resolution number 20-44. So that was the last resolution you folks did to adjust our salaries for this current term. So that salary increase was 2.5 one year, 2.5% the next year, 1.5% and 1.5% for the county clerk. And then there was pretty much the same wage increase for the register of deeds and the county treasurer for that term as well. So I just, in the event you wanted to know what you did last time, the other attachment that's on here is that I believe the resolution from last time is on here. Or actually maybe it wasn't on this, but it was in finance. So that just tells you what you did last time. So last time we had an 8% wage increase from the 2021 to 2024 term. The next point down is resolution 22-20. That is what you would have just adopted for the most recent set of elected officials. So the coroner, the clerk of court, and the sheriff. So I just wanted to illustrate there the wage increase that you gave to them. So in the event you wanted to compare what you were doing for other elected officials, you'd have some sort of comparison as to how, that was calculated. So then the very last thing, we did, try to give attention to comparable market wages. So public and private, knowing that we have a wage scale review coming up, compensation study coming up. We also looked at wage scales for current county positions and individuals who, are currently on our county scale and what those positions are making with, similar or the same responsibility, impact of error as well. And then also just employee retention and attraction, what that looks like. Again, because we are setting those wages for 4 years, we really tried to consider all of those things to really make this the most comprehensive salary scale that we could. So that's what went into these numbers and all the various things we looked at. I will let administrator elaborate more on that. But just to give you the two charts you have there, you'll see one says county clerk comparison. The other one says county treasurer. And these counties specifically did not say names because, as I said, there were all of us working on this at the same time, and I wasn't going to publish my counterparts' salaries when they were still in the same working process. So I really just tried to highlight here what similar populations were making, and then those that were, quite a bit bigger than us. You can see G and H are 20 and 39,000 to give you an idea of what a realistic range would look like. And I believe the treasurer did the same thing as well. So one last note, as far as the county clerk's office goes, although we all have the same similar statutory duties, there are so many variations in the non-statutory duties and the other duties that we all perform that it's not easy to do an apples to apples comparison, which is why we did try to list and think about all those different things above to come up with this salary.
Thank you, Derek.
Yes.
So just to give you an idea of what you typically look at when you were formulating a wage for a routine position. And that is, you look at the decision making, you look at the supervisory skills, you look at the affect of error. So if they make a mistake, what is the impact on the county overall? All three of these individuals, if they make a mistake, the impact is quite significant because it all ties together. And it's the hub of how we operate. It's our tax collection. it's our money, it's our elections, it's our functionality as a board. And so they are all critical functions of our county. My group, the administrator group, has been tossing all this stuff around for quite some time as well. And historically, what we found is that often the elected officials have been significantly underpaid. And so the trend that you're seeing this year is a lot of people are giving a larger raise in this first year to try to make up for the fact that they've basically underpaid these individuals for a large amount of years. And so with that, that is how this was formulated. That 13% increase in year one seems really significant, but if you look at how many years they've been under the normal percentage, it's really very little. And just to also illustrate where they will fall with this new wage compared to the county wage scale, they're at a grade M is where they would fall, which right now, that is HHS service managers, actually 3, and a patrol lieutenant. And if you think about that, not that those are small positions, but they're not department head level positions with the affective error and the overall county impact of these elected officials. So I do support this. I do think that it's more than fair. I do think that it makes strides towards making the wage right. And so I would recommend approval of the wages as they are in front of you.
Motion from Renish. Do we have a second? Second from Fleming to bring it up for consideration. Folks have questions on presentation. Mr. Manning.
Certainly agree they've been underpaid. Only question I have is what will this be doing for our budget? How will you be budgeting for this going forward?
The budget is fine. You know, again, we had shared revenue money that really made us whole. So this is, you know, it's an impact certainly, but will it break the bank? No. So we'll be
So
okay.
do we have a motion? Okay, in a second.
For discussion.
We're in discussion. I think it's good. I appreciate all the work that was done. Appreciate the work you did, Derek.
Thank you. It was a team effort.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is adopted. Thank you. Resolution approving the purchase of cabling within the courthouse.
This would be resolution number 24-13. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted cabling within the courthouse for string, heating, and electric not to exceed $10,672. And be it further resolved that funds to carry out this resolution shall come from $8.2 million borrowed for the radio tower project. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 13 February of 2024.
We have a motion on this. Motion from Mr. Williamson, looking for a second from Mr. McKee. So this has to be approved as a separate resolution because it's a separate supplier from the rest of the project, is my understanding. Is that correct, Barb?
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff that was planned for, but we still, because it's over $10,000 by our current rules, we need to bring it back to the full board for approval.
Chairman, this is
Yes.
why this rule needs to be addressed as we're going forward. If it's a budgeted item, again, does it really need to come from committee to the board? So should be on that.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chair, just,
Yes, Mr.
it's a typo, but between granted and cabling, I think there's a 4 missing.
Yes.
So we'll correct that when this is posted, but it's just a typo.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Next up on our agenda, item 19, approving the purchase of 4 new trucks by the Highway Department. Ms. Heidi, read that for us, please.
This would be resolution number 24-14. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors approves the purchase of the 4 new trucks for the Highway Department as described above. And be it further resolved that funds for these purchases are in the County Highway Department's account in the 2024 county budget. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Works Standing Committee on 14 December of 2023.
Heard the resolution. We have someone make a motion for this? Motion by Manning, second by McKee. For discussion, Mr. Elder has joined us.
So, 2 of these trucks are from over 2 years ago. We ended up canceling those orders because I kept sending surcharge after surcharge to sign, and the prices kept going up with no trucks in sight to actually receive. Staying on course of ordering 2 trucks a year to keep replacing our outdated fleet. So that's where that comes from. This was planned and budgeted for.
We actually see these arrive, we hope.
Correct, they are scheduled to arrive in May for Evansville.
Old ones will go on surplus, Wisconsin surplus.
Correct.
Any other questions? Those in favor of this purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Okay. Item number 20, a resolution approving the designation of the Highway Commissioner as the signing authority for Fair Parks Recycling and Snowmobile Alliance operations. Ms. Hagan.
This would be resolution number 24-15. Now therefore be it resolved that Richland County Board of Supervisors designates responsibility and signing authority for Fair Parks Recycling and Snowmobile Alliance operations to the current county Highway Commissioner Joshua Elder. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 13 February of 2024.
It's a resolution. Motion by Manning, second by Fleming. In discussion. Ms. do you want to?
So as we know, the Fair Parks Trails has been kind of in flux. And so with the committee restructure, there will be also restructuring of some of this department. And so Josh will be taking over responsibility for the parks, the recycling, and the Snowmobile Alliance. He will also have some oversight authority on the fair staff that will be in place. And so in order for him to be able to do the work that he needs to do, he needs to be able to sign for that department. And so this is just cleanup to ensure that he can fill out all the paperwork, sign on behalf of the county, and do what he needs to do to ensure we're operating effectively and efficiently.
And nothing thus far has been left in the flux, if you want to call it that. Everything has been handled up to this point. I just at the point where I have to be able to sign for a few documents to keep everything going. And like the DNR request that require that a resolution has to be passed, given you signing authority to do so. But everything is continuing to proceed forward as it was passed.
Questions from the board? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Item 21, a resolution approving Venture Architects to complete facilities assessment study for Richland County.
This would be resolution number 24-16. Now therefore be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors accepts the facilities assessments study submitted by Venture Architects at a cost not to exceed $165,000. And be it further resolved that the facilities assessment will be funded from Fund 93. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Campus Reconfiguration Committee, on 26 January of 2024.
Resolution, motion by Manning, second by Williamson. Yes, catch everybody up.
So, you all received this information a couple of weeks ago after the campus reconfiguration committee had narrowed it down and designated Venture Architects as their selection. We had 8 proposals submitted with price proposals. We had 9 proposals and 1 firm that never submitted a price proposal, which was interesting. And out of those 8, it was narrowed down by the committee to have 3 present. Venture Architects was the selected presenter based on their overall concept, the fact that the committee was pleased that they gave equal consideration to not only what needed to happen out of the campus, but the courthouse building, the human services building, the space needs, and the potential of, do we need to move? Do we need to, raise buildings? And so they just felt like they gave the best overall picture and understood that all options really needed to be on the table and that they would do a great job of evaluating and making recommendations and suggestions to the board to move us forward in this process. And so their price point also came in all in at under $165,000, which was outstanding. As you see in the slide deck that's here, I'm not going to go through all of it because it's pretty extensive, but they have a very good process. It's going to be an inclusive process. They're going to speak with the staff. They're going to speak with you. They're going to be doing walkthroughs, and there's going to be some community involvement at some point as well. So we look forward to them, working with them. I've had some opportunity to get to know them a little bit and spend a little more time with them. And I think they will do an outstanding job. I think they want to understand us and what we really want. So with that, the recommendation is in front of you.
Wisconsin company.
They are a Wisconsin company.
Questions? Folks who were on the campus committee want to speak to the experience, but they did a really good presentation and seemed eager to connect with the whole community and area. Mr. McGuire.
Numerically, how many county buildings are involved in this?
No, the courthouse, human services, and the campus buildings, not Simon's, because Simon's is not part of the campus.
Okay.
That's what's involved.
Okay.
Any other questions? And from my feeling talking to these people is that they really like this old building that we're in, that one in particular. They appreciate the heritage, shall we say. So I guess they're probably not gonna recommend that we go with it, although maybe we should.
Other questions? Vote. Those in favor of awarding this contract, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Solution is passed. We struck item 22, which also means we have no need for item 23, which is returning to open session, and no action to take from the closed session in item 24. So that fast forwards us all the way down to item 25.
Mr. Manning, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Manning to adjourn, second by Supervisor Fleming. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you all so much. Good night.
Just a note, people, don't give up on me. I'm gonna make it.